Behind the glittering world of K-pop that always looks perfect in front of the camera, there are often small stories that the public has never known. A story that does not appear on a grand stage, nor is it caught in the spotlight of the concert lights. But it is precisely from those simple moments that the most sincere friendship story was born. One of the stories that now makes the fans moved again is about how Park Jimin secretly gave encouragement to his best friend, Jungkook, when no one noticed. Many people know both of them as part of the phenomenal global group BTS. On stage, they look full of energy, joking, singing, and dancing as if they were never exhausted. But behind all that, the life of an idol is not always easy. Tight schedules, public pressure, and high expectations are often burdens that are invisible to outsiders. This touching story begins at a time when Jungkook is facing quite heavy pressure in his career. As the magne or the youngest member in BTS, Jungkook has been known since the beginning as a figure who works very hard. He always tries to give the best performance, even when he feels physically and mentally tired. But not many people know that at one time, Jungkook had doubts about himself. In a practice session that lasted until late at night, the atmosphere in the studio at that time felt different. The staff has started to go home. Some members also rest after a long practice. Jungkook is still in the room, trying to repeat some choreographic movements that he thinks are not perfect. He continues to practice alone, repeating the same movement many times. His face was clearly tired, but he still forced himself. For Jungkook, giving the best is not a choice, but an obligation. That's when a small moment happens, a moment that is unknown to many people. Without a sound, Jimin entered the practice room. He actually finished practicing first. His body also looks tired after a hard day's work. But from a distance, he saw Jungkook still in the practice room alone. Instead of going straight home or resting, Jimin chose to go back in. He didn't speak directly. Jimin just sat in the corner of the room, watching Jungkook, who was still practicing. A few minutes passed. Jungkook, who finally realized Jimin's presence, looked a little surprised. He didn't expect that there were still people paying attention to him. "Hyung, you haven't come home yet?" Jungkook asked with a still panting breath. Jimin just smiled a little. A simple smile, but full of meaning. He then stood up and walked towards Jungkook. Without saying much, Jimin took the water bottle and handed it to Jungkook. The small gesture looked normal, but for Jungkook, who was in a tired condition at that time, the small attention felt very meaningful. "That's enough for today," Jimin said softly, but Jungkook shook his head. "I'm still not satisfied with this movement," he replied. Jimin didn't insist. He knows very well how Jungkook is. If Jungkook has decided something, it is very difficult to stop it. But Jimin also knows that his best friend is sometimes too hard on himself. Instead of telling him to stop, Jimin actually did something unexpected. He stood in front of Jungkook. "Then, let's practice together," he said. Jungkook was silent for a while. He knew Jimin was very tired. But Jimin still chose to accompany. The two then repeated the choreography together. The atmosphere of the exercise that previously felt heavy slowly turned into a lighter one. Sometimes they laugh when there are out-of-sync movements, or when Jungkook makes a funny expression because of exhaustion. Time keeps running. Without realizing it, the exercise that initially felt hard turned into a warm moment of friendship. For Jimin, encouraging Jungkook doesn't have to be with big words. Sometimes it's enough to be present at the right time. And that night, Jimin did exactly that. What makes this story even more touching is the fact that Jimin never told the moment to anyone, neither to the media nor to the fans. For him, helping friends is something natural and does not need to be announced. But many years later, that little story was finally revealed in a casual conversation between the BTS members. When discussing the hard training period, Jungkook accidentally told the moment. He admitted that that night was one of the moments that he will never forget. "Sometimes I feel like I have to always be strong," said Jungkook in the story. "But when Jimin Hyung came and practiced with me, it felt like there was someone who really understood." The confession made many fans touched. They realized that the relationship between Jimin and Jungkook is not just a coworker in a music group. More than that, they are friends who take care of each other. In the entertainment world that is often full of competition, stories like this feel very rare. Many people see BTS as a symbol of global success, a group that dominates the world charts, fills stadiums, and wins various awards. But behind all these achievements, their greatest strength lies in the relationship they build with each other. Jimin and Jungkook are real examples of that. Their relationship is often described as brother and sister. The older Jimin always shows concern for Jungkook, while Jungkook himself never hides his respect and affection for Jimin. The moment of that night's training may never be recorded on camera. No photos, no videos, no media highlights. But that's why this story feels so real. It was a moment that happened far from the stage, far from the fans, and far from the outside world. A simple moment between two best friends who take care of each other. And for many ARMY, this story is a reminder that behind the great success of BTS, there is such a strong friendship. Friendship that is not always shown with big words, but with small actions that are done secretly, like what Jimin did that night. When everyone doesn't know, he stays there, accompany, encourage, and make sure that Jungkook never feels alone. Behind the glittering world of K-pop that always looks perfect in front of the camera, there are often small stories that the public has never known. A story that does not appear on a grand stage, nor is it caught in the spotlight of the concert lights. But it is precisely from those simple moments that the most sincere friendship story was born. One of the stories that now makes the fans moved again is about how Park Jimin secretly gave encouragement to his best friend, Jungkook, when no one noticed. Many people know both of them as part of the phenomenal global group BTS. On stage, they look full of energy, joking, singing, and dancing as if they were never exhausted. But behind all that, the life of an idol is not always easy. Tight schedules, public pressure, and high expectations are often burdens that are invisible to outsiders. This touching story begins at a time when Jungkook is facing quite heavy pressure in his career. As the maknae, or the youngest member in BTS, Jungkook has been known since the beginning as a figure who works very hard. He always tries to give the best performance, even when he feels physically and mentally tired. But not many people know that at one time, Jungkook had doubts about himself. In a practice session that lasted until late at night, the atmosphere in the studio at that time felt different. The staff has started to go home. Some members also rest after a long practice. Jungkook is still in the room, trying to repeat some choreographic movements that he thinks are not perfect. He continues to practice alone, repeating the same movement many times. His face was clearly tired, but he still forced himself. For Jungkook, giving the best is not a choice, but an obligation. That's when a small moment happens, a moment that is unknown to many people. Without a sound, Jimin entered the practice room. He actually finished practicing first. His body also looks tired after a hard day's work. But from a distance, he saw Jungkook still in the practice room alone. Instead of going straight home or resting, Jimin chose to go back in. He didn't speak directly. Jimin just sat in the corner of the room, watching Jungkook, who was still practicing. A few minutes passed. Jungkook, who finally realized Jimin's presence, looked a little surprised. He didn't expect that there were still people paying attention to him. "Hyung, you haven't come home yet?" Jungkook asked with a still panting breath. Jimin just smiled a little. A simple smile, but full of meaning. He then stood up and walked towards Jungkook. Without saying much, Jimin took the water bottle and handed it to Jungkook. The small gesture looked normal, but for Jungkook, who was in a tired condition at that time, the small attention felt very meaningful.